It has been over 10 years since the release of Pokémon X and Y, the first Pokémon games for the 3DS. It was the start of a whole new era of the Pokémon series, making the jump from 2D to 3D. I've heard so many good things about Pokémon X and Y throughout the years from the Pokémon community, and I've always wanted to play it. I was a huge Nintendo DS kid. I took that thing everywhere and put hundreds of hours into Pokémon White, Heart Gold, and Pearl. When the 3DS era began, I was starting my teenage years, and I decided that I was too old for Pokémon. Jump to 2019, I start college and get a Nintendo Switch and decide, yeah, I'm in college now, I can do what I want. And what I wanted was to play Pokémon again. Since then, I've played every new release since Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee, but there has still been a huge gap on my Pokémon resume that's been missing the 3DS era of Pokémon. With the announcement of Legends ZA, I knew it was finally time for me to go to Kalos for the first time and see what all these memes I keep seeing on Twitter are all about. Without really knowing what the game differences were between Pokémon X and Y, I chose Y solely because I thought the box Legendary looked really dope. Starting off, I met the Kalos Pokémon professor Augustine Sycamore, who does the classic Welcome to the World of Pokémon speech, showing us a very nice little Pokémon painting. I found it cool how the game used paintings throughout to enhance the storytelling in this game. We start off, as almost every Pokémon game does, in the player's room. The first things I noticed are that I really dig the art style, and the cute little Pikachu 3DS I'm holding. We learn the main character just recently moved here, and then get into our character's outfit. Outside, our neighbors Callum and Shauna are waiting to introduce themselves and say that the professor has a Pokémon for us. After a quick hop on the ride-on and checking in with the classic science technology guy who is always present in the Pokémon game starter towns, we head north to the gate and through a very short Route 1 that leads us to Aquacore Town. At a table waiting for us is a group of kids. We meet Trevor and Tierno, who give me the nickname Little G and present us with the Kalos region starters, Chespin, Fennekin, or Froakie. Originally, I was leaning towards Froakie because of how cool its evolution line is, but I've always wanted my first playthrough of the game to be with Fennekin, so that's who I ended up going with. Shauna chose Chespin, and Callum chose Froakie. After getting my starter, Trevor gives me the Pokédex, and Shauna challenges me to a battle with our new starter Pokémon. Fennekin knocks out almost all of Chespin's HP with Ember, and after a second Ember, we win our first battle. We head back to Vanderville Town to hand off the professor's letter to Mom, who helps me pack for the journey and gives us the town map. Next, we continue north to Route 2, where we can run into wild Pokemon and Callum teaches us how to catch them. We defeat a few trainers and wild Pokemon on the way to Santaloon Forest. Shauna tags along to keep my Pokemon healthy through the forest maze, and I use that to defeat as many Pokemon as possible to level up Fennekin. There weren't any Pokemon here I wanted to add to the team, so we kept pushing to get to Santaloon City, the home of the trainer school and the first gym. In front of the first gym was a rollerblader who challenges us for a pair of roller skates. Fennekin takes out Zigzagoon with an Ember and a Scratch, and then we get our skates. I believe every Pokemon game before this has only had bicycles as a faster way of traveling, so this was a pretty neat addition. When trying out the skates for the first time, I accidentally stumbled upon Route 22, where I learned there was a 5% chance of catching a Riolu in the tall grass. I knew Lucario had a really cool Mega Evolution, and so I started my hunt for a Riolu. About 10 minutes later, I finally got that 5% Riolu encounter and named him Spice. With 2 members on the team, we went to challenge the first gym. This gym is clearly a bug-type gym, which was a huge advantage for us since Fennekin could basically just burn out all the bug types with Ember. Viola's first Pokemon was Surskit, and I started with Riolu. Riolu countered Surskit's quick attacks, and then ironically defeated it with its own quick attack. Viola's second and last Pokemon was Vivillon, which I sent Fennekin out to use Flame Charge on, and we won our first badge, the Bug Badge. Viola's sister gives us the XP share for winning, and lets us through to Route 4 to explore some mazes. At the end of the route, we meet Dexio and Cena, who tell us about the new Pokemon type that was introduced in Generation 6, the Fairy type. We arrive at the iconic Lemoyne City. I was surprised we got to see the city this early in the game, but it makes sense considering it's where Sycamore's lab is. At the lab, Sycamore challenges us to a battle with his 3 Kanto starters. After defeating them, he tells us to choose one of them to join our team. Bulbasaur has always been my favorite Gen 1 starter, and I was super hyped to Mega Evolve Venusaur for the first time. Honestly, I was just really excited to use Mega Evolution for the first time, but I was gonna have to wait until our team members had fully evolved. Having another starter on the team was cool to me because you don't often get 2 starters on your Pokemon journey unless you trade for it. Lobby of the lab, we meet Lysandre, and he rambles something about making the world a better place, and I immediately pegged him as the villain. When a character in a Pokemon game starts talking about visions and goals of improving the world, while also having a devious-looking hairstyle, more often than not, they're here to make your lives more difficult, except for you, Wen. You could never do no wrong. The crew mentions meeting up at the cafe, but first I wanted to explore what Lemoyne City had to offer. So far, what it had to offer was a lot of closed-off streets, but I still got to make that trainer video. Honestly, I didn't really understand that, but it was still a good time. Then got a little hair trim before heading to the Red Cafe. At the cafe, we meet Diantha, who's there with Lysandre, who is once again saying some very villain-sounding sentences out loud in a public space. Entering Route 5, a Lucario runs up, followed by a roller skater and another another Lucario. At this point, I remember thinking there's a 50% chance that this girl is gonna give me this Lucario. There's no way they just gave this girl 2 Lucarios for fun and decide one of them likes my aura. I was already emotionally attached to Spice, my Riolu, that I spent 10 minutes looking for, so I decided even if this Lucario was offered to me, I'm not replacing it with Spice. This caused a few problems for me later on, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Anyways, on Route 5, Fennekin evolved into Braixen, and we had our first Horde encounter using the honey given to us by Trevor. We arrive at Camp Beer Town trying to find out more about Mega Evolution. The guy at Shaba New Castle has nothing for us. Also, disclaimer, I'm probably going to mispronounce some of these towns, locations, and maybe even characters in Pokemon incorrectly. But it's not my fault that Pokemon loves its unique names, okay? At Route 7, a Snorlax is sleeping on the bridge. To get it to move, we need a Pokeflute, which none of us have, so Sean and I head to one of my favorite locations in this game, which is the Parfum Palace. Inside, we explore the gold architecture, study the paintings, and learn a little bit more about the war that happened in Kalos 3,000 years ago. God, I love the details in this. Outside in the courtyard, Sean and I track down a man's lost Furfu and corner it. As a thank you for saving his Pokemon, we're given a fireworks show over the courtyard and the Pokeflute to use on Snorlax. On our way back to Route 7, Bulbasaur evolves into Ivysaur, and a Honedge joins the team. The Pokeflute worked on Snorlax and he woke up mad and ready to fight. Riolu took him down with Force Palm, and we were ready to keep moving forward. Up ahead, Callum was waiting for me, Trevor, and Tierno to catch up for a double battle. With my Kanto starter and Callum's Kalos starter, we won the match against Trevor and Tierno's Pokemon. We went through Connecting Cave to get to the coastal Route 8 and Ambret Town, which has an aquarium and the fossil lab. Not sure where the fossil was at. I kind of just explored around and stumbled upon Route 9, where you can ride a ride-on over the rocky cliffs. Also, I thought it was pretty cool that the main character's mom is a professional Rhyhorn racer in this game. We get to Glittering Cave, where we get a little lost, but meet a member of the Team Flare for the first time. Okay, now it's obvious that this guy is the villain. His hair is literally a flame. The Team Flare guy challenges me with his Houndour, and Riolu takes it down with Force Bomb. I love the over-exaggerated lose animations that these guys do, it just makes defeating them more fun. There's more Team Flare members in the cave, so we take down some more of them, and Callum even joins in for a double battle against 2 of the members. Callum and I find the scientist with the fossils. He gives me the Jaw Fossil and Callum the Sail Fossil. Back at the lab, we turn the Jaw Fossil into Tyrant, a rock dragon type. Through the museum, we reach the northern part of Route 8 to Silage City. I was a little surprised to be getting a bicycle since we've already got our roller skates, but realized we needed a bicycle to get up the hills to reach the second gym. I remember feeling like the gaps between gyms 1 and 2 was much larger in this game than most games. That just might have been because there were so many things to do after the first gym to keep progressing. We rock climb our way through this gym using mostly Riolu against the rock-type Pokemon. Riolu battled so many trainers that he soon evolved into Lucario. The gym leader Grant started with Amora, and I started with Lucario. Lucario won with its fighting type advantage, and Grant sent out Tyrant, who meets the same fate, getting us the Cliff Badge. Rocky Route 10, a Team Flare member jumps out at me from behind a rock and wants to fight me. There were a few more Team Flare members on this route to defeat before we could reach Geosenge Town. The first time we arrive, a Team Flare member is just standing there singing about how it's the town of stones and then just runs away. What a quirky little rival team this game has. Arena and her 2 Lucarios meet up with us again, but this time for a battle. My Lucario goes up against the first one and takes it out with Force Palm and Quick Attack. I send out Braixen against the second one to defeat it with Flame Charge. Arena says to come challenge her gym in Shellor City, so we get to Reflections Cave and battle a bunch of trainers who could spot us in the wall reflections, which was a cool concept. Shellor City has the Tower of Mastery where the Mega Evolution Guru lives. Turns out he's also the gym leader, Karina's grandfather. The Guru tells us that he only has 1 Mega Ring, which Callum and I battle for. In this battle, he has 3 Pokemon, Meowstic, Absol, and his starter, Frogadier. After winning, Karina tells our group to come challenge her at her gym. Her gym is a roller skating loop where you have to catch up the trainers on roller skates in order to battle them. Her gym specializes in fighting types, so Braixen's psychic moves helped us a lot in this gym. While battling our way to Karina, Ivysaur evolved into its final form, Venusaur. Then, it was time to face the gym leader. Karina started with Mienfoo, which Braixen took out with Psybeam. Her second Pokemon was Machoke, and Braixen also took it out with Psybeam after surviving on 8 HP from a super effective Rock Tomb. Her final Pokemon was Hawlucha. This guy was using Hone Claws non-stop and then Flying Press, which took out Ivysaur in only 2 hits. I sent out Honedge, and Hawlucha's flying type moves had no effect on Honedge. Honedge used Shadow Sneak until Hawlucha went down and we won the Rumble Badge. After getting our 3rd badge, we climb up to the Tower of Mastery where Karina is waiting for us. She gives us the Mega Ring, and one of her Lucarios wants to have a Mega versus Mega battle with me against Karina's other Lucario. For the first time, I used Mega Evolution, which was really cool. Mega Lucario's design is just incredible to me. We take out the opposing Lucario with Power Up Punch, and as I predicted, one of her Lucarios wants to join my team. Lucario looked intently into my eyes, asking to come along on my journey, and my reply was no. I had already had my own Lucario, and for some reason, I just assumed that mine would be able to Mega Evolve, forgetting that it needed Lucario Knight. So I left Karina and Lucario, not really thinking anything of it. Leaving the town, Callum gives us Surf, which was perfect because on Route 12, a Pokemon breeder gives us a Lapras to take care of. Then we rode around on Skiddo to jump over the ledges on this route. I wanted to use a Mega Ampharos in this game, so I used Honey to trigger a Horde of Mareep and add one to the team. Mareep took Tyrant's place, but I think it was a beneficial swap in the end. After adding Mareep to the team, we arrived at Coumarin City, a city which basically is split into two parts and is connected by monorail. On our way to use the monorail, we run into the professor and Diantha who chat about Mega Evolution and gives me the HM fly. Right as we get to the 4th gym, Callum challenges us with the same team from last time, which we defeat, and afterwards our newly caught Mareep evolved into Flaffy. The Coumarin City gym specialty was grass types, meaning it was a breeze for us with Bryson using Flame Charge on basically all the Pokemon. While fighting all the grass type trainers in this gym, Bryson evolved into its final form, Delphox, and learned Mystical Fire. Ramos is the gym leader who uses 3 grass-type Pokemon in his battle. His first is Jumpluff, followed by Gogoat, and then Weepinbell. This battle was very quick with Delphox just basically one-hit KOing each Pokemon with Mystical Fire. And with that, we got the plant badge. In this battle, I finally had the realization that I couldn't Mega Evolve Lucario for some reason. I learned that the Lucario Knight I needed was attached to that poor little Lucario I abandoned back at the Tower of Mastery. We flew to Shalor City and climbed back up to grab that Lucario just to take its Lucario Knight and put it back onto my Lucario Spice. Route 13 is a bone-dry desert where Pokemon move through the dirt and randomly pop out at you. It's a lot of Trapinch and Dugtrio who have the ability Arena Trap, meaning you can't just run, but have to actually defeat them or capture them in order for the battle to end. I ended up catching a Trapinch and a Dugtrio. We run into Team Flare, and after defeating him, he says something about dropping a Power Plant passkey. We find it hidden on a rock and use it to get access to the Team Flare headquarters. Inside, we learn that they've been redirecting power in Kalos, which explains all the power outages back in Lumeria's city. The members we battled inside mostly used Golbats, so I used the opportunity to level up Flaffy by taking them out with electric-type moves. We fight our way through to reach a Team Flare admin and scientists. Lapras took out the Houndoom and Lucario defeated the Mightyena. Continuing on Route 13, we meet a very tall dude who briefly mentions a flower Pokemon that had eternal life, and then keep traveling to reach Lumoy's city once again. At the Prism Tower, the gym leader Clement and his little sister are fixing the light circuit. Wonder what type of gym leader he is. He gets Prism Tower to light up, which also turns out to be the 5th gym. After correctly answering the who's that Pokemon questions in the gym, we finally reach Clement, an electric type gym leader. His first Pokemon is Emolga that Venusaur defeats with Petal Dance. Then Delphox took out Magneton with Mystical Fire, and his last Pokemon Heliolisk, which Delphox defeats with Psyshock. Right after the battle, Flaffy evolves into Ampharos. What better place for an electric type Pokemon to evolve than an electric gym? We get the Volt Badge and meet Callum and Trevor on Route 14. Callum challenged us to a battle, and we evolved Venusaur into Mega Venusaur for the first time. Lavier City is the next city, and resembles more of a fairy tale town with the older architecture and mushrooms. No surprise, the gym for this city is fairy type. The gym leader, Valerie, uses 3 fairy type Pokemon, Mawile, Sylveon, and Mr. Mime. For this gym, I used Delphox, Venusaur, and ended with a Mega Lucario to defeat Mr. Mime. North of Lavier City is the Pokeball Factory, where Team Flare has overrun. In order to save the company president, Callum and I double battle a couple of Team Flare admins. After saving the president, he gives us a Master Ball. I honestly didn't expect to get the Master Ball so early in the game, and I figured after that the legendary battle must be coming up sooner rather than later. On Route 15, I get a Lysandre jump scare when he randomly FaceTimes me. Reach Dandile Town, where Sycamore catches up to us and tells us about the legendary Pokemon Yveltal. North of Dandile Town, Team Flare is messing with an Abomasnow, so we defeat them and obtain an Obamasnite. On Route 17, we ride a Mamoswine to reach Anistar City. The Anistar City gym is the 7th gym in Kalos and specializes in psychic types. The gym leader Olympia has one of the best character designs in the game and has 3 Pokemon. I taught Lucario Shadow Claw to have a ghost type advantage over her psychic type Pokemon. I evolved Lucario and used Shadow Claw on Sigilyph, Slowking, and Meowstic to win the battle. After receiving the psychic badge, Lysandre FaceTimes us again, saying him and Team Flare are going to wipe out the entire world. We break into his secret base at the cafe in Lemoy City and challenge him for the first time. He has a Mienfoo, Gyarados, Pyroar, and Murkrow. After defeating him, he tells us we're going to need to find the elevator key to go down to headquarters. Before getting the elevator key, I wanted Ampharos to be able to Mega Evolve before the bigger battles, so we headed back to Wizard Bay to get the Mega Stone for Ampharos. I was so excited to see the new form, I'm pretty sure I just sat there for 3 minutes staring at it. He's no longer a bald king. I love it. After that little side quest, it's time to go stop Team Flare from murdering the planet. So we challenge Mabel, who gives up the elevator pass. Finds EA again, who is now locked up behind bars, and tells us the lore of his creation of the ultimate weapon. Sad story, but I really enjoy the visuals they used here. Even though I pushed the correct button, the ultimate weapon was still revived, and now I see why I couldn't go inside those houses earlier. Callum catches up with me at Geosinge Town right as we get to the Team Flare headquarters. Inside, Lysandre challenges us once again, but he's defeated and Callum and I double battle our way through as admins. Soon, Shauna joins us and helps us crack the lock to where Yveltal is being held. The admins' efforts to stop us from getting to save Yveltal, they're all defeated and the legendary Pokemon is able to break free from Team Flare. I use the Master Ball given to me by the Pokeball Company president and add Yveltal to the team. Lysandre is pissed that his plans haven't worked and challenges us to battle again. Big difference in this battle versus his other battles was battles, he Mega Evolved Gyarados, which was up against my Mega Venusaur. Venusaur took out most of Gyarados' HP with Solar Beam, and Gyarados became confused, smacked itself in the head, and we won. No, Lysandre was defeated. He used the ultimate weapon anyways, but luckily the group was able to get out in time. Back in Anistar City, Professor Sycamore calls and says he wants to meet in Koraway Town, which is the town south of Anistar. We head through Terminus Cave to reach Koraway Town. Professor Sycamore meets us and challenges us to battle with his fully evolved Kanto starters, Venusaur, Blastoise, and Charizard. For some reason, I was expecting him to Mega Evolve at least one of his Pokemon, and was looking forward to seeing Mega Charizard and Mega Blastoise. Snowbell City is the home of the 8th and final gym of the Kalos region. Arriving at the gym, we're told to go find the gym leader Wolfric in the Winding Woods. We get a little lost, but eventually find him at the Pokemon Village and he heads back to the gym. Since this gym specializes in ice types, I used Delphox to use fire moves to get us through this gym. Wolfric uses 3 ice type Pokemon: Abomasnow, Avalugg, and Cryogonal. I'm able to one-hit KO each of his Pokemon, using Delphox for the first 2 and finishing his last Pokemon with Mega Lucario. With 8 gym badges, we are finally able to head up to the Pokemon League. We train up on Victory Road and have our last big battle before the Elite Four, which was with our rival Callum. After defeating his 4 Pokemon with no trouble, we were feeling ready to take on the Pokemon League. The plan was to start off with a Dragon-type Elite Four member, Drasna. Her first Pokemon was Dragaggle, which Lapras takes out with Ice Beam. Druddigon loses some HP to Lapras with Ice Beam, but defeats it with Revenge. I sent out Lucario, Mega Evolved it, and used Dragon Pulse to take down Druddigon and Noivern. Her last Pokemon is Altaria, who almost takes out Lucario with Moonblast, but Lucario pulls through with close combat. Next, we face the Steel Knight, Wickstrom. I was hoping to use Mega Ampharos to take down his Steel types with Brick Break and Power Gem, but his first Pokemon Klefki took down Ampharos with a critical hit Dazzling Gleam. I sent out Delphox to finish Klefki with Flamethrower. His next Pokemon Probopass took down Delphox, but Fruit Loop was able to defeat it with Surf. Yveltal beat Aegislash with Foul Play, and his last Pokemon Scizor with Phantom Force. Diebold is the Water-type member of the Elite Four. He starts with Clawitzer, and I use Mega Ampharos to defeat with Discharge, along with Gyarados and Starmie. His final Pokemon, Barbaracle, got the upper hand on Ampharos with a critical hit Stone Edge. I feel like in most Pokemon games, there's always an Elite Four member whose Pokemon just wipes the floor with Stone Edge. Luckily, Venusaur was able to use Solar Beam on Barbaracle, defeating it in one hit, leaving us with one member of the Elite Four left, Malva. Malva specializes in Fire-type Pokemon. She begins with Pyroar, and Lapras has the Water-type advantage with Surf and Hydro Pump. Lapras takes out Torkoal and Talonflame with Surf, and I bring out Yveltal against her last Pokemon, Chandelure. Yveltal's Dark-type move Foul Play has the type advantage over Chandelure and allowed us to win. With the Elite Four defeated, it was time to face the champion of the Kalos region, Diantha. Diantha has a full team of 6 strong Pokemon, and not gonna lie, I was nervous going up against her. She starts with Hawlucha, and Ampharos is able to take it out in one hit with Discharge. Next is her Tyrantrum, which I bring out Lapras for a super effective Ice Beam. After she sends out Goodra, I decide to use Mega Lucario against Goodra, which might have been a mistake because Lucario barely survived Goodra's multiple Focus Blasts. After too many close calls, Goodra takes out Lucario. Send in Lapras and hopes to take it out with Ice Beam, and we're able to defeat Goodra. Next, Diantha sends out Aurorus, and I keep Lapras in to use Hydro Pump and Surf on it. Her next Pokemon is Gorgegeist, which Delphox takes out with Fire Blast, which leads us to the champion's final Pokemon, Mega Gardevoir. I send out Yveltal to take it on with Phantom Force. Not only did the move help us to avoid the Gardevoir's Moonblasts in the process, but Phantom Force did super effective damage. One of her Moonblasts finally caught us, but it was too late and one more Phantom Force took it down. After all our hard work, we had conquered the Kalos region. I was so excited to see that after the credits rolled and we had our battle with ZA, he reunited with his Pokemon Floette. I was wondering when I was going to see that meme. Like I said in the beginning, this is my first time ever playing a Generation 6 game, and it was honestly better than I expected. In total, it took me around 2.5 to 3 weeks to finish this game because when I play a Pokemon game, I try and take my time and enjoy it, and I really did enjoy this generation. I think in terms of ranking for me, this game sits somewhere between Scarlet and Violet and Heart Gold and Soul Silver. It had a really good story and memorable characters and designs. Mega Evolution was a huge improvement, and seeing the new forms of old beloved Pokemon was really exciting. Sometime hopefully soon I'm going to go back and do the post-game because I know that I still need to go and catch the legendary Zygarde, which I'm definitely going to do before Legends CA comes out. Thank you guys so much for watching. I just recently started my channel about a month ago, and I've just gotten such an overwhelming amount of support from this community, and I really appreciate all of it. Again, thank you, and I hope you have a great day.